concept I'm going to show you is how to get the very front of our book. And the very beginning of this, you start out with just a plain, the top piece. Every page looks exactly the same, but you're going to start out with this top piece. And all of the different ones that we have, they come in different sizes. And again, it's Cosmo Cricut, and it's their Blackboard line that we do have on our website. We have all 6 of these on our website. There is Jack's album, which is a little bit shorter. It has just a little, they all have different shapes to them. I don't know how hard it'll be for you to see it since it's black, but they're all different. This one has a scalloped edge. And the one that we're going to be using is called Ethan's album. What's nice about these is that you can change out the rings. I'm going to go over that a little bit later with you, but you can change out the rings to be, if you want to, depending on your color scheme. For this one, I decided I will change them at the end because I think it might look a little better with it. And to get started, we're going to be using this piece of the Cap and Jack paper. And at first when I looked at this, Karen designed this for us. I thought that it was 2 different cardstocks, but it's actually the one. She just cut it out in the perfect spot to where it fits symmetrical on the book, the cover. And to get that, we're just going to lay the piece down right to where the skeleton is going to be even with the book. And trace around. We're going to cut out, and I like to cut inside the line that I drew so that it fits on the page perfectly, because the outline is going to be a little bit bigger than the book. Once you have your paper cut out, just going to place it on top of your board to make sure it lines up, and then you can use the crocodile. Make sure you have it on the bigger punch and flip it. It's actually better to flip it over to where you can see the holes of the book and match up the hole inside and then punch through. Now that our holes are punched, I am going to move on to the next step, which is showing you how to get this treasure word on here, and it's actually using some grunge board and the back side of this paper, the gray and the red striped paper. We're going to use that and just some little long fasteners from Tim Holtz and some paper and a stamp. So to get that look, this is the paper, the back side of what we used before. I've actually already got it all cut out, but it is from the Tags Collection grunge board. And so it already comes like this with the holes and everything in it. You just punch it out of a page of, like, I think 10 to 12 different tags on each page. And to have the thickness to where it pops out a little better, we wanted to use that. And then I just cut out, I traced it onto the paper, and we're just going to glue that down and punch our holes in it. But to get the actual treasure word, we just took white cardstock, and I'm going to use a little bit of brushed corduroy distress ink. So just kind of like run your brush really lightly and kind of just make some lines. Really can't go wrong when you're just distressing. Then we're going to take, we just happen to have some wood letter stamps, and gonna use StazOn, Saddle Brown, and write out the words treasure. Now that we have our word treasure, which you can do any way, you could cut it out your letters with a Cricut or write them by hand. We just chose to do it with stamps. And I have our paper glued down to the grunge board, and we still need to poke our holes. And for that, since we're going to be using the Tim Holtz long fasteners, they're pretty small, so I don't want to use the crocodile. I'm going to be using this craft pick by Tim Holtz Tonic Studios. And again, just kind of see where your hole is, but probably easier to do it from the back side, and then you can kind of work your hole around if you need to make it any bigger. But these craft picks work great. You have to be careful with them. Poked my finger so bad yesterday, it was pouring with blood. So be aware of that thing. Now that we have our holes in, and we just want to put our glue the word treasure on. So just stick your word treasure on. And if you have to kind of move it around a little bit to where you can see that it's in the right spot from the front. Now we're just going to add our little long fasteners, which, by the way, the Tim Holtz long fasteners are more brown, like antique-ish gold tones. So I wanted them to be black, and I took just some Ranger alcohol ink, the pitch black, and just ran it over the top, and it turned my little long fasteners black. So that's another great use for the alcohol ink. Just poke them through. I'm going to show you how we got the metallic look on our keyhole and the actual key itself by using the same alcohol ink, but this is silver. It is from the metallics line of alcohol inks. It does the same thing, it just gives a metal look. And I actually have one I'm going to do with you, but this one I already have so that it's dry, and I can show you how we distressed it. But in order to get it silver like that, I actually didn't have to use any tools. I just did it straight from the bottle and just squeeze a little bit, and as it's coming out, just kind of color the whole key. And you don't really have to worry about the edges unless you don't want it distressed, because I'll just go over the edges with the distress ink. Actually, for this, we couldn't use distress ink because of the silver. We had to use Stays-On ink. But it still gives the distress look. And that's it. You just let that dry for a little bit. And then on this one that we already have colored, I'm going to go over it with the Stays-On ink. Just black is what we used. And go around the edges. Kind of go up onto the key a little bit. You want to get it on there pretty good because the silver kind of resists things unless you have a good amount on there. And you can even go back over it a little bit once you've inked it the first time. Once that's dried, you can go back over it again if it didn't end up having as much black as you wanted it to have. But that's the process for your keyholes. And same thing, we ended up using the long fasteners on the ends as a little embellishment to make it look a little more realistic. I'm going to glue those on. While they're drying, I'll let them dry for a little bit before I go into all the details with those. But the last step to the front of our page is adding just the ribbon of your choice and the Tim Holtz, where are they at here? Philosophy tags. And what's really cool about them is that they actually stay in place, so they're not dangling, and I'll show you how we did that.